You're sitting across from a woman you've been seeing. The conversation has been good. The energy has been easy. Then suddenly, over the next few days, she becomes less available. The texts slow down, plans get vaguer, and if you're not careful, your mind starts filling in the blanks with the worst possible story. She's lost interest, she's met someone else, you did something wrong. But here's what most men miss. What looks like pulling back isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's recalibration. Sometimes it's her way of managing her own feelings. And for men over 50, understanding this difference changes everything. Because you've lived long enough to know that people don't always say what they mean, and they don't always mean what they say. If you want more insights like this, subscribe to Mature Instincts, hidden signals most people miss. Let's start with something most men don't want to admit. When a woman pulls back, the first instinct is to chase, to fix it, to ask what's wrong, to reassure her, to do more. But that instinct, as natural as it feels, often makes things worse. Because it's coming from a place of fear, not confidence. And women can feel that. They always can. The mature man understands that space isn't always distance. Sometimes it's exactly what she needs to figure out what she wants. And the man who can give that space without panicking, without needing constant reassurance, without making it about his own insecurity, is the man she comes back to. Here's the psychology behind it. Women process emotions differently than men. When a man feels something, he tends to decide quickly, yes or no, in or out. But women often need time to sit with their feelings, to see how those feelings hold up when they're not in your presence, to notice whether they miss you, whether the attraction is real or just circumstance. And that process, that internal recalibration, can look like withdrawal. It can look like she's losing interest. But what she's actually doing is testing herself. She's asking, do I really want this? Or am I just caught up in the moment? And if you react to that by chasing, by demanding answers, by trying to control the outcome, you interrupt that process. You make it about you. And now she's not thinking about whether she wants you. She's managing your reaction. The man over 50 has an advantage here that younger men don't. You're not desperate for validation. You've been through enough relationships to know that not every connection works out, and that's fine. You've learned that trying to force something that isn't there only prolongs the inevitable. So when she pulls back, you don't spiral. You don't bombard her with texts. You don't show up unannounced trying to win her over. You just continue living your life. You stay grounded, you stay calm. And that calm, that lack of panic, sends a signal she can't ignore. It tells her you're not needy. It tells her you're secure. And security is one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. Now let's talk about what this looks like in real situations. You've been dating someone for a few weeks. Things are going well. Then she cancels plans, says she's busy, suggests maybe next week. A younger man might take that personally. He might start analyzing every conversation, looking for where he went wrong. But you know better? You know that people have lives. That sometimes busy actually means busy. And even when it doesn't, even when she's creating space on purpose, the right move is the same. You acknowledge it without making it heavy. You say something simple like, no problem, let me know when you're free. And then you move on with your week. You don't follow up 2 days later asking if she's thought about it. You don't text her just to stay on her radar. You let her come back to you. And more often than not, she does. Here's why that works. When you don't chase, you give her room to feel your absence. And absence, when handled correctly, creates curiosity. It reminds her of what she liked about you in the first place. But if you're constantly reaching out, constantly trying to keep her engaged, she never gets the chance to miss you. She never has to wonder what you're doing or whether you're thinking about her. You've already answered those questions. And once the mystery is gone, so is the tension. The mature man understands that attraction isn't built through constant contact. It's built through presence when you're together and confidence when you're apart. But there's another layer to this. Sometimes a woman pulls back because she's scared. Not of you, but of what being with you means. Maybe she's been hurt before. Maybe she's worried about getting too attached. Maybe she's used to men who are unstable, unpredictable, and your calm confidence is unfamiliar. It doesn't fit the pattern she's used to. And that unfamiliarity, as good as it is for her, can feel uncomfortable at first. So she creates distance, not because she doesn't like you, but because she needs to process the fact that you're different, that you're not going to play the game she's used to, that you're not going to give her the drama that her nervous system has come to expect. This is where most men get it wrong. They assume that pulling back means she's not interested. So they either walk away completely or they start performing. They try to prove themselves. They start doing more, saying more, being more. But that's the exact opposite of what she needs. What she needs is for you to stay exactly who you are, to not change because she got scared, to not start chasing because she pulled away. Because if you stay steady, if you remain calm and unbothered, she gets to see that you're real, that your confidence isn't an act, that you're not going to crumble the moment things get a little uncertain. And that steadiness, that refusal to panic, is what allows her to relax, to trust that you're not going anywhere, to feel safe enough to lean back in. Let's be clear about something. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about ignoring her to manipulate her into wanting you more. This is about having enough self-respect and emotional security that you don't need to control every aspect of how things unfold. It's about trusting that if it's meant to work, it will. And if it's not, no amount of chasing is going to change that. The man over 50 knows this because he's already tried the other way. He's already exhausted himself trying to convince someone to choose him. And he's learned that the right person doesn't need to be convinced. She just needs to see who you are. And if who you are is enough, she'll make that clear. If it's not, she'll fade. Either way, you get your answer without compromising your dignity. There's also the practical reality that women, especially women over 40, are dealing with their own uncertainties. They're navigating their own fears about aging, desirability, trust, and what they want in a partner. So when she pulls back, it might have nothing to do with you at all. It might be her working through her own internal questions. And the man who gives her space to do that, who doesn't make her emotional process about him, is the man who stands out. Because most men can't handle that. Most men need constant reassurance. Most men need to know where they stand at all times. But you don't. You're comfortable with uncertainty because you've learned that trying to control outcomes only creates anxiety. So you let things unfold. You stay present when you're with her. You stay grounded when you're not. And you trust that clarity will come in time. Here's something else worth noticing. When a woman pulls back, and you don't react, when you just continue being who you are, you give her a glimpse of what life with you would actually be like. She gets to see that you're not going to be emotionally volatile, that you're not going to need her to manage your feelings, that you're stable. And stability, especially for a woman who's been through unstable relationships, is incredibly attractive. It's not exciting in the way drama is exciting, but it's deeply reassuring. And at this stage of life, reassurance often matters more than excitement. Now, there are times when pulling back actually is rejection, when she's genuinely not interested and is trying to let you down easy. And the mature man can tell the difference. If she's pulling back but still engaging when you do connect, if she's still warm, still curious, still asking questions, then it's likely not rejection. It's recalibration. But if she's cold, distant, giving one-word answers, avoiding plans consistently, then it's time to recognize what's happening and move on without bitterness. Because the man over 50 doesn't waste time trying to change someone's mind. He respects himself too much for that. He knows that the right woman won't make him guess. She won't leave him in limbo for weeks on end. She'll meet him halfway. And if she's not doing that, he's mature enough to walk away and find someone who will. So what does all this mean for you? It means that when a woman pulls back, you don't panic, you don't chase, you don't start performing or proving yourself. You just continue being the calm, grounded, self-assured man you've become. You give her space without disappearing completely. You stay warm without being needy. You let her come to her own conclusions without pressuring her. And you trust that if she's the right person, she'll recognize what she has. If she's not, you'll find out sooner rather than later. Either way, you maintain your dignity, you maintain your peace, and you stay focused on living a life that doesn't require anyone else's approval to feel complete. Let's bring this together. When a woman pulls back, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's her way of processing her own feelings. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's her testing whether you're as steady as you seem. And the man who understands this, who doesn't react out of insecurity, who gives her the space to figure things out while staying grounded in his own life, is the man who earns her trust. Because trust isn't built through grand gestures or constant reassurance, it's built through consistency, through showing her over time that you're exactly who you appear to be, that you don't crumble under uncertainty, that you're comfortable in your own skin. And that comfort, that quiet confidence is what makes you unforgettable. You've spent decades learning how people work. You've seen patterns. You've learned to read between the lines. You know that what people do often matters more than what they say. And you've learned that the best relationships aren't built on desperation or performance. They're built on mutual respect, genuine attraction, and the ability to give each other room to breathe. So when she pulls back, you don't see it as a crisis. You see it as information. And you respond, not with fear, but with the calm assurance of a man who knows his worth. That's the advantage of being over 50. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're just being who you are. And for the right woman, that's more than enough. Think about the times in your own life when someone gave you space and how that affected your feelings toward them. Have you ever noticed a woman pull back only to come back stronger once you stayed calm? Share your experience in the comments. I'd like to hear what you've observed. And if this resonated with you, like, comment, and subscribe to Mature Instincts for insights into the hidden signals most people miss.